Hello and welcome. Today's session is about marketing research example. We have already discussed about marketing research in two previous sessions, and today I am going to give an example to explain further, because marketing research is kind of slightly complex. So, with an example it will clarify it much better. What we are going to do is we are going to talk about in-depth concept testing, where there is no product involvement, then testing with real product, various types of market research that we discussed. We will show how these are actually done, and then how market research can lead us to forecast sales, and then prepare project report or make projections about sales and profitability, etc. So, if this is from the previous slides, there are three separate methods like by source, by methodology, by objective. Important to note that any method which may be, say, by source, you are using primary method, but then primary should be either quantitative or qualitative. It can be exploratory, it can be descriptive, it can be causal. So, they are all overlapping, meaning that it is not mutually exclusive. So, let us see how they are kind of interconnected or etc. So, 10 karat gold, this is an example that we discussed earlier. It is like this, that gold jewelry is most sought after in India, and people do everything to really possess. It's a thing of high esteem, and people also invest in gold for the rainy days, etc. So, you think that you observe that there are a lot of people who aspire to possess gold jewelry, to adorn them, but then they can ill afford, meaning they do not have enough money to buy, and then making charge also is very high. Whereas there are machines which can automatically make, and then you get some information from developed world that 10 karat gold jewelry is a possibility, and the glitters as good as 22 karat gold. So, there is no reason why people will not like 10 karat gold jewelry. So, your vision is to empower the poor with articles of high esteem, meaning you want to give them this jewelry and make them happy. So, your mission is to make available gold jewelry at affordable price to the middle and lower income people, and your objective is to find a product market fit that meets the aspirations of the target audience. As I said, gold also is an investment. So, though we are targeting poor, but if that investment side is missing, then it does not serve the purpose, because poor always have ups and downs, and at some point of time they may have to sell that. So, you inquire and you are very sure that 10 karat gold jewelry also will always have value, resale value, just in the same proportion as 22 karat gold. Your hypothesis now, you think that 10 karat gold jewelry being cheaper, but as glittering as gold and as valuable as an asset class as any other asset, will be well appreciated by the middle and lower income families, and it will make them really happy. That is your hypothesis. So, through market research and through kind of validated learning, you want to test your hypothesis and then move forward, start the business. Now, we will first discuss about the primary method of market research, that will have both qualitative and quantitative data, and then it will be exploratory. First one will be exploratory. So, these are the primary types of research. One is survey, another is focus group, interview, experimental field trial, and observation. So, you start with observation, that whether this really makes sense, this really will make people happy. So, you, or whether they can really afford, or they cannot afford, or they can afford high value jewelry. So, you just observe, maybe you visit some marriages or during festivities, you just see people and then watch them. So, that is just an observation, and then you get the initial idea that okay, this is going to do what. You see people are buying imitation, but they are not happy with that. So, or maybe they are trying to buy 22 karat gold jewelry, they are compromising on the size of it, they are buying a very little quantity, but they are not so happy, but still they are kind of aspiring and doing their best. So, you can build your hypothesis based on this observation. It is just building the hypothesis, not really testing it. Now, second is by source and secondary research using existing data. So, you have some idea about the market, about the possibility that whether this is going to be kind of a hypothesis or not, means whether you really want to move forward, spending more time to see the market or what the segment is, you want to define them. So, you want to gather some data. So, you do not want to really collect data by yourself at the beginning. So, when you are not gathering data, it is secondary research, meaning you are trying to lay your hands on some existing data that have been collected by some agency, whether it is Panchayat or Block Development Office or some NGO. So, you gather that data to understand the demographic based on income distribution, meaning poor, middle income, high income, and then you want to know how many families have women, how many families are without kind of people who will be looking forward to purchasing your kind of jewelry. So, you gather that data, that becomes secondary research, and you get all the data. So, you start analyzing. So, this is secondary research, and your objective is to do some exploratory research, not really something like experimental or deeper study such as descriptive. So, by method it is quantitative, because you are gathering data, numerical data, but then it can also be qualitative. If suppose you are reading some article in a newspaper or a magazine where the report suggests that some people, means in villages majority of the people are middle income or something, whatever that is, that may be kind of qualitative data, may not be quantitative. So, it is secondary, the exploratory, then quantitative or qualitative. So, you have the data. So, let us move forward. Now, we are going to primary, means it is not that we are following a sequence, we are following only the sequence of events that you need to do to get better understanding about the market. So, it is not really arranged in terms of the methodology that we have shown. It is in terms of you are gaining confidence in the marketplace and moving forward. So, now you have some kind of exploratory data, and you think that okay, so the data suggests that there are something like say 30%, 40% or something, 30% perhaps is middle income, then there is another some 40% or so lower to middle income group of people. So, you think that this is my segment of the people. So, you want to know whether they will really buy, they prefer or not. So, you want to do some primary research, meaning that you want to talk to them and gather data directly. That is what is primary research, gathering data for the problem at hand. Then gathering data can be through question, means through survey, through focus group, through many other means, but you want to do a focus group. You do not want to do immediately, you do not want to go to survey. Why? Because survey requires a lot of money, a lot of time, but you want to get a very brief and quick idea whether to move forward, whether to really do a survey or not, because unless it is attractive, you do not want to do a survey. So, you invite some people in a room where there will be a kind of a moderator who will be talking to them, will be throwing question that gold jewelry, 10 karat gold jewelry is this, do you think that you would like to buy, how many of them are willing to buy, something like that. So, they will give some input. Based on that, you are going to talk to them and understand their willingness to buy or not. So, it is kind of introduction, as long as you kind of are not satisfied. So, these kind of rooms are normally enclosed rooms, where in one wall there is one way mirror, meaning that the participants will not know that somebody else is observing them from another room. Suppose you are sitting on the other room and you are observing how they are reacting, how serious they are, whether they are reacting in a mechanical manner or they are really enthusiastic about this new thing. So, out of that you get you are in isolation. So, you are trying to get that data and you get a good understanding about it. So, the results from this interaction with the focus group most of them, suppose that most of them like the idea, and you may even put a figure like based on maybe you can normally in focus group people do not gather numerical data, but based on say you ask them to raise your hand how many of you are immediately willing to buy, something like that. Or maybe someone will say, okay, I am considering when it is, I will consider when it is available. Some will say, I will see when other people will buy, only then I will decide. And others, there may be other group who will say, okay, I kind of like it, but I may not buy, something like that. So, depending on your comfort level, you can make group, you can ask question, okay, raise your hand, how many of them are like this, something like that. So, primary research, that was qualitative so far, because you did not actually gather numerical value, just raising a hand is not really numerical data, but that is kind of a early information for your comfort. Now, you find that a lot of people showed interest to buy immediately, and a good percentage also said they will consider when available, and there is some percentage they will wait and watch how other people are buying. So, you feel that this is kind of encouraging. So, you decide that okay, so let us move forward and do a more deeper research. So, again you do primary research, gathering data is all primary research unless you are gathering existing data. So, and now you want to do a quantitative research, meaning qualitative gives you some kind of idea, but qualitative research, this idea is not going to lead you to put a figure somewhere like what would be your sales in the first year and the second year. You need some quantitative data. So, you prepare questionnaire, you send them to, now you have a fair idea about market segment, and based on data you now know where to send this document or your questionnaire, whom to send, and get the idea. So, gradually you are moving towards your target audience and try to get deeper and deeper understanding about your target audience. So, you want to reach to a larger audience for getting a better view. You design a questionnaire with limited number of questions. We have discussed questionnaire in the previous session, that the questionnaire should not be a lengthy one, and it should give a fair idea about them, and the question should be direct, and the answer should be very easy for them to give, should not be no confusion in them. So, while sending the questionnaire, it would be a good idea that you send them a nice brochure where the pictures of jewelry is kind of glittering in the picture, and they have a kind of a good feeling about what this is and whether they really like it or not. You send them a good number of good number of persons you send this questionnaire. At the same time, you can also reach out to some of them directly through your people, or you directly go and meet them and get some idea. Suppose this is the data, 30% is ready to buy immediately. Looking at the picture itself, they say, I would like to buy now. 40% says, okay, shall consider when available, I have to see the jewelry directly and then I will decide. I cannot decide based on the photograph. Then 20% say, I will see how other people are behaving, and if they say that this is good, then only we will buy. 10% say, I may not buy. So, the first three groups are kind of positive purchase intent. They have positive purchase intent. So, you want to explore more on them. Now, you see, you can, based on this data, you understand that this 30% are the early adopters, meaning they will buy, they just have already decided without even seeing the product. 40% early majority, they are going to buy, meaning once available, most likely they will buy. Then 20% is kind of late majority, 10% are the laggard. So, you have this classification now done based on market research. We have discussed about this, how to identify them is market research. And if you, in your questionnaire, if you have some kind of question as to say income bracket or something, perhaps you get a fair idea the family income distribution and what would be your total kind of market, say what market you can cater to, or who are the likely buyers, you will have a fair idea. This is putting it in a cumulative manner, 30%, 30 plus 40, 70%, 70 plus 20, 90, 90 plus 10, 100%, and how they are distributed in the graph of product adoption, in our early product adoption curve. Early majority, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and then laggard. So, primary research gives you an idea about TAM, SAM and SOM, meaning total available market, serviceable available market and serviceable obtainable market. How is that? Suppose you know the segment, now you know the segment and you know the wheeling percentage of the segment. So, in the country now if you have the data about the people within this income bracket, you now can tell that okay, this is the total available market in the country, but your target is a particular geographical area. In the geographical area, if that is some percentage of the entire country, so multiply with that percentage, you have the serviceable available market. Now, out of them who are immediately willing to buy, that is your serviceable obtainable market. So, portion of the demand that you aim to capture, immediately you want to capture something, say 40%, 50% or whatever is your target, is the serviceable obtainable market. So, if you do not remember, this is the TAM, SAM and SOM, how they look like. And now, put some data on that. Suppose the entire country there is a market of 1 lakh crore rupees and serviceable available market is a target market, that is about 10 crore. Now, suppose you want to capture 30% of the geographical area where your segment is lying, means the segment in the geographical area that you would like to cater, and you want to target 30% of that market. So, you are targeting about 3 crore rupees worth of market. So, now that you have some not really, that means these are all part of in depth concept study. Concept meaning that you do not have a product, you are just giving a concept to the people and people are giving you feedback. But then everything is in the glimpse, meaning that there is no product, they are not touching the product, looking at the product, wearing it, looking in the mirror how they look like. So, these are all in the glimpse and these are all part of in depth concept study. You have not shown them anything, your hypothesis will be validated only when customers buy the product with real money and are happy about the purchase. You give them some sample and they buy it and wear it, your hypothesis gets tested that yes, 10 karat gold jewelry is going to be liked by people, etc. Just selling is not adequate, you sell them, that is not adequate. They have to be happy. Suppose they buy it and they feel that oh my God, I have spent so much money and this does not look nice, obviously your hypothesis is not tested. So, are they happy? Are they kind of advising others to buy, or are they showing interest to buy more? Only then it is kind of validated. So, other thing is test with real product. First is in depth study and second is test with real product. This is no classification, but this you can think that okay, this is one part, that is the next part, test with real product. Actually, real market research is done like this. Initially, you do some concept test and then for better understanding, more accurate data, you do a test, meaning you take the product to the customers and then see their behavior, their reaction, their willingness to buy. That becomes kind of real test. Now, to do that, let us do a causal research or experimental research for validated learning. This is real validation. You get some sample jewelry made from somebody from abroad or from whatever source, you get something made, machine made, and then you make some kind of different kinds of types of jewelry are of various kinds. Some are classical, some are contemporary, some are antique, beads type, bridal type, temple type, spiritual, modern and many more types. So, you make some of them, some samples and see what kind of jewelry people are actually interested in, and you check whether these can be manufactured in a machine or this really cannot be of it needs human to make them. You do not want to involve human for making them, because you want to reduce the manufacturing cost or making charge. So, if you make in a machine, making charge will be very low, and because it is 10 karat, so it will be affordable. So, you want to add these two elements into the product to bring the price down. So, you have a list of customers who are ready to buy. means through this experiment you give them, and then you try selling some through these people. Check which design is most preferred, with out of all those types which is most preferred. So, your idea is either get validated, you get validated learning whether your product is liked or it is not liked. If the results are positive, you are ready to go. So, your hypothesis gets validated. If it is not, meaning it is otherwise, meaning hypothesis is not tested. So, based on this validated learning and this experiment, real experimental data, now you are ready to make a forecast based on the data, of course. So, suppose that you have already seen that our serviceable obtainable market is 3 crore, but then you may not be able to create the awareness in the entire geography that you are targeting in the first year itself. So, suppose you are capable of creating awareness among only 50% of the total segment in the geography, then obviously 3 crore is not your market. It will depend on your promotional budget or advertisement budget, etc., etc. And even if you advertise, the social media you try, so every advertisement has some effectiveness. You advertise and many people do not watch, your advertisement may not be so catchy, and people will not even bother to watch it, maybe, but alternately on the flip side it may be so attractive that immediately people will like to buy. So, depending on effectiveness and budget, you will be able to create a level of awareness among people, even means whatever the percentage is. Now, even if you create awareness, you may not have a distribution network to reach out to all of them. Some people will like to buy, but then they may not have access to your shop. It may not be available online, because you need that infrastructure. You need the payment gateway to build up. So, depending on infrastructure and other limitation, that may be another factor which will decide whether what percentage of 3 crore you are going to be able to achieve. Then everybody who is saying I shall definitely buy may not actually buy. A percentage only will buy when the product is available. Similarly, some people say shall consider when available, maybe a small percentage of them will buy. So, what percentage? This is also very important. You have to have some data or assume some value for each. So, this is where a rule of thumb actually works. In all market research by all agencies worth their salt, they have some kind of rule of thumb based on their past record, historical data. They must have done this research and they have observed that if some X number of people say I will definitely buy, what percentage of them actually get converted into buyer. So, research normally say that 80% of these people actually buy. 20% they kind of fizzle out, or they do not have the money immediately, or something, they change their mind. So, now suppose 30% of the respondent are said that I will immediately buy when available. Now, 80% of them will get converted into buyer. So, you have one data point. Also, when some people says that we will consider when available, thumb of rule is that, or rule of thumb is that 30% of them get really converted into customer, meaning they buy. And people who say that shall wait for other people to buy, only 20% of them get converted into real buyer. So, you have this 3 data which is rule of thumb, and it actually works, meaning that they do not go haywire, absolutely haywire, they really help. So, what is the exact market you are likely to capture in the first year, second year? Now, you have to make another assumption, that is what is the level of awareness that you are going to create. So, you think that okay, given the kind of advertisement that we are going to do, or we may not do any advertisement, we may do some kind of awareness campaign through market or through some other means, through social media, and you think that 50% of your market are going to be aware about your value proposition, your product, etc. So, if that is 50%, then then out of the total market of rupees 3 crore, you are targeting actually only 50% of them, because other 50% will not even know that your product exists. Now, out of the 30% of the people who says that we will definitely buy, only 80% will buy, and then they will buy. Who are these people? So, they are 30% of 1.5 crore worth of market are ready to buy, but 80% of them will get converted into buyer. So, you are actually going to get something, achieve something like 0.36 crore rupees worth of market out of this 30% population, that is early adopter. Out of the early majority, that is the 40% of the population of 1.5 crore rupees market, you are going to gain something like 30% of them, because 30% is the rule of thumb. So, that makes 0.18 crore, and another 20% of the 20% who said, okay, I will see when other people buy, we may think of buying, that is only 0.06 crore. So, it is a multiplication effect and the number really goes down. Total is only 0.61 crore rupees. So, your first year sales forecast is 0.60 crore rupees. So, still there are other factors that we have not considered, factors like quality. You may have a very poor quality, okay type quality, average quality, you may have wonderful quality. So, if it is like average quality, your 80% will get down to something else. So, quality will have another factor, maybe 90% of the people will buy average quality, maybe 100% of the people will buy wonderful quality. So, depending on that, several other factors actually may have to be factored, maybe it will be 90% of 80% of 30%, something like that. Then again geographical area, what percentage, purchase channel, meaning how many people are accessible to the channel that you are kind of offering. Second year forecast. Now, you say that okay, awareness will go up to say 80% of the population, 80% of the target audience. So, your target is 3 crore rupees, 80% of that makes 2.4 crore. The data is slightly kind of apple and orange, because the 2.4 crore or 3 crore, these are in rupee term, 80% in population terms, but then population and rupee are kind of almost like synonym, because population per head, if you have a per head purchase data multiplied by that will give you rupee in rupee terms. So, take it as whatever it is, it kind of gives a fair idea about the kind of projected sales that you are going to make. So, with the same formula, your next year targeted sales would be something like 0.97 crore, round it off to 1 crore. So, next year your targeted sales is 1 crore. That is how normally sales forecast is made, and if you have really good data to depend on, then you can make a forecast which will be kind of trusted by your investor. Wherever you pitch, they are going to look at this data. This is very exhaustive, rigorous. So, they are going to value, they are not going to question your sales forecast. You can always make a pessimistic estimation, or a kind of realistic estimation, and an optimistic estimation, depending on what kind of awareness you are going to create, what kind of market you are going to target. Put some data, pessimistic, realistic, optimistic, and then you can always say that we go by realistic, that is going to be acceptable. So, this is the gist of the experiment, gist of the market research that we have discussed. One is initially you gather data for consumer reaction to new product concept. So, it is a concept test, conceptual appeal and the product satisfaction level. Then you go for marketing plan as to how you are going to advertise, what is the level of awareness you will be able to create. So, depending on that you get another factor, media schedule, and then distribution build plan, how you are going to promotion, how much you are going to invest. Third is the adjustment factor, like say what percentage of the consumers who are saying I will definitely buy are actually going to buy. So, another factor you have to multiply with that factor. We have seen 80% of them, 30% of them, 20% of them buy actually. Then volume projection, meaning you estimate the first year based on how much you are going to create awareness, based on maybe repeat sale also, like through experiment you can actually get idea about what percent of the people will be repeat buyer. So, you can multiply with that. If there are repeat buyer, you can say 10% of them are going to repeat buyer. So, it is going to be 1.1 rather than just one. So, repeat buyer are kind of increasing the number. What is the takeaway? What are the takeaways? It is possible to realistically predict projected sales, profit and other financial. How to project profit? Now, you will know what is the gross profit margin that your retailer is expecting. So, reduce that part. Now, you have the actual realization of the money that you are going to get, and then you have some estimation of the cost of production, marketing cost, etc., etc. So, you can actually make very informed and logical estimate of the profit, the realistic price, and based on the likely turnover, you can estimate price elasticity, sensitivity of demand, etc. All these can be estimated out of this data. Price elasticity is if you increase the price, what percentage of the customer are going to go away, you reduce the price, what is the increase in demand. So, demand is always price elastic. Marketing research is helpful, if not indispensable, for launching new product. Obviously, now you can appreciate with this example. Some market intelligence is absolutely necessary to capture some surprises from competitors that cannot give from market research. Some intelligence is necessary, what your competitors are doing, people always do that. But then remember, the actual performance will depend on several factors. You make assumptions. If you make optimistic assumption, it may not go, it may not fructify. You make a realistic assumption, perhaps your data will be kind of okay. This lecture has been prepared with direct reference to a paper from Harvard Business publication, True Earth Healthy Foods Market Research for a New Product Introduction by V. Kasturiranga and Sunru Young. So, we should attribute this to them. And of course, their paper is very complex. That is targeted to real marketing research guys, but it is actually means ours is a very simplistic example. And here is some concluding remarks that you can read. In absence of time, I will not really read them. Thank you very much. We close it here.